welcome back to Lumpy Studio, and today I'm here to do a preview of the 2028 Democratic primary. I am aware that it is still 2 years and 2.5 months away, which now that I think about it is a lot closer than most of us think. But I know it's still a while away, and I know that we need to get through the midterms, but they did announce the first six primaries happening in early 2028. So, as we know, there's usually like at least four primaries, sometimes five or six that happen before Super Tuesday, the first Tuesday of March. And that is the big primary day. A lot of states vote that day. If we look at 2024, there were four contests. Now, New Hampshire didn't end up getting any delegates out of there, so really there were only three. And then Super Tuesday had a 16 contest, I'm pretty sure, something like that. So here they have six contests. So South Carolina, Nevada, New Hampshire, and Michigan. These are the four that we're kind of used to, but they added in New Mexico and Virginia into the early lineup, which is very interesting. And I do think that favors different types of candidates. And I do think by having New Mexico be an option, it does give someone like a candidate who has better appeal to Hispanics. It gives them a better shot for sure. Virginia, has a lot of black voters. It's definitely a more moderate state, so that could be good for the more moderate field. So I do like that they added in other primaries as well, so it's not just those four. But let's go ahead and dive right in. So I took the top seven candidates from Race to the White House: Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom, Pete Buttigieg, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Jon Ossoff, Josh Shapiro, and Mark Kelly. Now, I'm pretty confident that as of right now, Harris, Newsom, Buttigieg, and Cortez, I think they are kind of destined to be the top four as of right now. Now, that can definitely change. Trust me, I have my own feelings about how they would actually all do in a primary, but this is just if it happened today. A lot can change in a year and a half. But Jon Ossoff, he's definitely been getting a lot of buzz as of late. Josh Shapiro, I'm mixed about him. Mark Kelly, there's definitely some potential there, but let's just go ahead and dive right in. So the first contest, which will happen on January 22nd, is South Carolina. And obviously, it's going to be whoever gets Jim Clyburn's endorsement is going to win this. And as of right now, considering who he endorsed in 2020, where he endorsed Joe Biden, I think he's most likely going to endorse Kamala Harris. Now, that can definitely change, but I do think this would give Kamala the first place win here. She does have strength with black voters. She has that appeal with them. I definitely think that would help her in the state. Plus, Harris does have a lot of name ID, and that's partly what helped Biden in 2020 get the win. It's just a very establishment-heavy primary state, so I do think that would definitely benefit Harris. And second place, because he's from neighboring Georgia and he is strong with black voters, I'm going to give it to Ossoff. I think he'll get second here, which leaves about 20% in the vote left, and I'm going to go ahead and say Newsom. As of right now, would probably get it. Again, he has name ID. He's not necessarily strong in the South, but I think being more establishment, having the name ID, I think would probably grant him the win. I just don't see any of these other candidates really doing well in South Carolina, especially not Pete Buttigieg with his abysmal black support. AOC, she's just too progressive to really make any inroads in South Carolina. And I don't know about Shapiro or Kelly. I just don't think it's the right type of state for them personally. So that's South Carolina. So moving over to Nevada. Now, this year it's not a caucus. It's just a regular primary. And as we know, caucuses usually favor the more progressive candidates. So that means AOC would kind of be at a disadvantage here, in my opinion. And I kind of go back and forth. I think it could really go any way between AOC, Newsom, or Mark Kelly. Because Mark Kelly is from neighboring Arizona, but he has said some stuff about unions in the past, so I'm not sure if the unions would go out and support him. That's like the only thing I'm kind of iffy on there, so I don't think he's going to be able to win this. I think ultimately Newsom will probably end up taking the win in Nevada. I'm not saying that's like set in stone. It's definitely not, because we do know that a lot of people from California have fled to Nevada because of the shit that the state is in. So it's not a guarantee that Newsom would win, but I just think having that appeal out west, just a West Coast, I think it would give him the win. we'll have to wait and see. I do think AOC would get second, though. I think she will come close to beating Newsom out in Nevada. I just don't think she will get quite there. But I really think this is a state that AOC could have a good shot in. I'm going to go ahead and say they do a little bit better here. Mark Kelly does a little bit worse. I think Mark Kelly just being from the West would give him some delegates, but ultimately I'm not sure if anyone else would do well here. I mean, you can make an argument that maybe one or more of these candidates could like get some support. I mean, again, we're just doing the 15% threshold here for delegates, so I'm not including all the vote totals. But yeah, we'll kind of just say that's what we'll go for Nevada. Now, New Hampshire, I do think after Pete Buttigieg had a pretty bad performance both time around, I'll go ahead and say that I think he would get the win in New Hampshire. I mean, we saw him get extremely close in 2020. Bernie narrowly beat him in the state, so I think he would take the win here. He wouldn't get that much of the vote. We'll say there, and then I think Josh Shapiro being from the Northeast, I do think he would get some support here, and I also think AOC would get some support here. Besides that, I think that's where I'm going to call it for New Hampshire. In fact, I'm going to give that away from Buttigieg. I think AOC would, again, it's going to be another state where I think AOC will come close to winning, but she won't quite get there. But I can definitely see the case where the establishment candidates would all split the vote and therefore give AOC the win. I could definitely see that happening. So every candidate so far after the first three contests has earned some delegates. Obviously, AOC and Ossoff, Shapiro, and Kelly have not won a contest yet, but that is about to change because New Mexico is the next contest, and with the amount of Hispanic voters in New Mexico, I do think AOC will get her first win here. I also think Mark Kelly will do well here and do a little bit better here. And then I think Newsom, again, just kind of being from the West Coast, I think he would do okay here as more of the establishment. But I think Mark Kelly will have probably his best showing because how much I gave him 22% of the vote. Yeah, I think he would do better in New Mexico than he would in Nevada just because of that union factor. But yeah, AOC would take her first dub here in New Mexico. So obviously things are not looking too good for Buttigieg. He's pretty down in here. He's not doing well in any other state besides New Hampshire. Mark Kelly has not won a single state, neither has Jon Ossoff. He just did okay in South Carolina, and Shapiro only did okay in New Hampshire. So then the question is, where do things go from here? So Michigan is the next state, and with Gretchen Whitmer not in the primary, that's not saying she couldn't run, but she's not in the top 7 average. So I'm going to go ahead and say, because this is Pete Buttigieg's home state, I do think he would take the win here. I'm going to give him that. Harris, just because of her appeal with black voters and because Michigan has a lot of black voters, I think she would do good here as well. I think this is a contest where probably 4 candidates could get some delegates out of it because I do think you can make a case that Shapiro being from the Rust Belt would give him some, and I think you can make an argument that AOC could get some too. I don't think Newsom would do well here though at all. So I'm going to say actually Shapiro gets a little less, AOC gets a little bit more. Let's see, we'll go that. I think that works. And you can make the argument Buttigieg might do a little bit worse here, but because this is home state, I'll go ahead and give him the win and call it there for him. So Buttigieg is definitely back in the running. Now it's definitely looking like a 3-way contest between Harris, Buttigieg, and Cortez. So now it's Virginia, and this is a state that AOC is obviously not going to do well in. It's just not a state that benefits progressives at all. I mean, if Abigail Spanberger got into this race, you could make the argument that she would do well here. She would probably win. Not saying she's the most popular governor, but that's a different story. I think you can make the argument that any candidate besides AOC would have a shot here. I think Shapiro could have a shot here. I mean, he is from Pennsylvania, which is pretty close in proximity. I think Newsom has a shot here too. I think even Buttigieg, Ossoff. I mean, really any candidate besides Cortez. I don't think Kelly would win here personally, but I'm going to go ahead and say that give it to. Oh God, this is hard. I personally don't think he's going to stay in the race for this long, but for this hypothetical, I do think Shapiro would take the win in Virginia. I think he would be able to do it. I think he would have the perfect appeal to Northern Virginia as well as like the Richmond suburbs and all of that. I think he would do really well. I think Harris would probably get second. She would do well with the black voters in Virginia, and I think it's another case where I think Ossoff could get some. I think go ahead and say this a little less. I think Buttigieg could probably also get some delegates here. I think you can make that argument too. Let's see, and probably Newsom would also get some delegates. So, but probably just some district delegates. I don't think Newsom would do as well in Virginia. So we'll say he gets a couple district delegates. We'll say, yeah, these candidates, Buttigieg gets another, Ossoff gets another, and just give the last one to Shapiro. So these are our 6 contests, how I think each candidate would do. So obviously Harris does have the lead right now, even though she only won one state, but she did come in second in Virginia. But she, I mean, and I had her second in Michigan. But overall, Harris, I mean, for being supposedly the front runner, she's not doing very well in my opinion. She should be winning at least half the states to actually be a front runner. I mean, really, this is such a fractured field right now, and this is not what's going to end up happening. Half these candidates will probably drop out after, what's the order? Probably half these candidates will drop out after Nevada, and it'll just be like maybe 3 or 4 going into Super Tuesday. It could just be a two-way. We'll have to wait and see how that goes. But yeah, I think all the candidates minus Kelly and Ossoff would take a win. Now, I do think that Ossoff and Kelly could potentially do well in some of the Super Tuesday contests. Like if we look at last year, I think states like Arkansas and Oklahoma, I think those are states Mark Kelly could do well in. Ossoff, I think he could do well in a state like North Carolina, probably a few other states too. So it definitely wouldn't be over for them, but if they all happen to stay in the race, this is how I think it would go. And it's honestly more just saying who has the advantage in the early states. And overall, I think Buttigieg, did better than I expected. I do think he would be able to pull off 2 wins, which is pretty big for him, winning more than any other candidate here, because Newsom won 1, AOC won 1, Harris won 1, and Shapiro won 1. So Buttigieg winning 2 states is pretty good for him. Shapiro wouldn't stay in the race that long because he had pretty abysmal showings overall, but I do think he would be the right type of candidate to win Virginia. And Mark Kelly, I just don't think, as of with the current lineup, I just don't see him appealing well anywhere. I mean, I think he would do okay in Nevada and New Mexico. I just don't think Newsom would do all that well. I mean, maybe if Harris dropped out, Newsom would be able to win like South Carolina and pick up some of that establishment, area that Harris does well in. But I'll have to wait and see. I do think Harris and Newsom are kind of competing for that establishment vote. And you could also make the argument that in maybe all these states minus South Carolina and Virginia, that AOC could take the win in because of the fractured field. She obviously is not going to win South Carolina and most likely not win Virginia either, though. That's just a given. So, yeah, that's kind of just my thoughts on the early primary field. Again, a lot can change in a year and a half, but that's just kind of where I think things are right now. Comment down below what you think of this, what your personal predictions are, and I'll see you guys later. Bye, everyone.